Hello and welcome to another edition of the College Football Super Show, hosted by me, Walter Waddell, aka Dub Deuce 85, joined on time by my man Pete Cole. Last night we brought you the CFL breakdown and some college football stuff for the slate that we're currently grinding through. We have a 7-gamer on tap for DraftKings tomorrow for the Friday slate. We're going to be covering that Friday slate, and then we'll be back, Pete and I, tomorrow night, same time, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, to break down the massive 13-game main slate on Saturday. A little bit different because I know normally we do Thursday, or on Thursday we cover Saturday, so a little bit different in that regard. Just going to cover all the slates we possibly can for you guys. And then I'll be back Saturday morning, of course, pre-lock 2 hours in advance to get you guys any, late last-minute news, injury stuff, depth charts. My feelings have changed about the slate, all that good stuff. That's our primary one that we want to make sure that you guys feel good about and are ready to go with your lineups. So another one on tap, Pete. You're doing some showdown stuff too. I know lots going on. You're still grinding MLB. I'm still doing CFL, WNBA. So not a lot of rest for us this time of year, but slates keep coming. Tomorrow looks like a kind of a weird one. I was telling you, a couple positions look meh, but the more I dig into it, I think there's some spots we might be able to take advantage of. So how are you feeling about college football thus far and the slate ahead?
Well, it's college football. I'm already seeing on Discords and chats, people already grumbling, but guys out playing and so on. But there's always room to get a little edge in. I mean, did okay last night. We had showdown last night. Did okay. Had a couple decent lineups tonight. Really don't know yet, but I think you're right. Tomorrow, I thought at the beginning there was a lot of chalk, but now I'm looking at there is a couple spots I think where we could probably take advantage. But once again, it's all about the late news. It's about finding these depth charts that they are, trying to get digging in some news. So it's actually makes the fun of college football. You know what I mean? So that's what makes the good players good, is people that put the time into it. And I think it all starts with these live streams you got going and try to give some guys the edge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't say where I'm at for this slate right now either, just simply because most of my PMR is happening like right now and at the ASU game. So if you guys are new to the stream, welcome. YFC, yourfielderschoice.com. We do have a promotion going on. The first 2 months, you get half off, which is $25. Those first 2 months basically gives you access to everything that we cover, all major sports from MLB, NBA, NFL, and all the niche sports stuff that we cover, from any soccer, college sports, Aussie, esports. Tennis is really big right now with the US Open, cheat sheets, members only Discord shows, you name it. Top play articles, we have it, we offer it. Prize pick stuff. It's all about getting you guys the winning content and wagering stuff as well. So we want to help you guys make money. Helps us when you watch our show. You hit the like button there underneath as you're watching. That helps our show be seen. The more views we get, the more we're able to make more quality content for you guys, and that's all really what it's all about. If you have questions, comments, concerns during the show, please put those in the live chat to your right, and we'll answer those as we go. Without any, I don't expect any disruptions tonight. I know last night my connection was kind of crappy, but we're on Zoom today, so it'll be better. First game on the slate, though, let's dive right in. North Carolina versus Virginia Tech. I do have early odds out here from our friends at DraftKings. Right now, I see -5.5 for North Carolina and an over/under of 63, which is the highest on the slate, tied with one other game. A lot to like, though. I mean, an early ACC game. There is definitely some good, there's some good games to target on the slate. There's some blowouts, but this one is going to be one that should, have some fantasy goodness just because it should be close. North Carolina, we know they've lost some weapons during our ACC preview. We talked about that. They're Michael Carter, our guy Javonte Williams are gone. They're replacing a lot of production that left. But Sam Howell is still, to me, the best option at the quarterback position. I was telling you earlier tonight that this slate really kind of has a lot of meh options at quarterback, and the good options they do have are both well over 8K, not great prices. But Sam Howell at 8.4 to me is a player that I want to be, coring and getting into my quarterback spot there. And he should draw, major ownership. There's going to be plenty of weapons still around him this offense can support. They brought in Ty Chandler, we'll talk about here in a second, from the Vols. He's a big pass catching running back. That should help Sam Howell. And he's got some familiarity. Even though Bo Corrales is injured right now, who, would have been probably likely one of the number 1 or number 2 guys, he still has that familiarity with Josh Downs, Emory Simmons, and Antoine Green. So those 3 guys are all come back. So there's going to be, some stats to be had. He has major touchdown equity in the red zone. We saw him score 5 rushing touchdowns last year, threw over 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. So a lot of upside for him here. And I do think he could put up a 28, 29, 30 fantasy point score. So that being said, he's probably my favorite quarterback on the slate. I never like saying that about one of the higher priced guys, but sometimes it really is just that obvious. Ty Chandler at 5.2, I think he's going to be mega chalk on the slate, and that's just a really silly price for him. The North Carolina rushing attack, with Javonte Williams, Michael Carter was mega. They rushed for over 230 yards a game last year. So Chandler's going to slide in and he's going to be more of a traditional bell cow now, where he'll absorb a lot of that, touches, usage, pass catching opportunities. It's kind of a combo of the two. So he's going to be an elite play. He has over 2,500 combined receiving/rushing yards in his Tennessee career and 16 total touchdowns. So the Hokies last year gave up 240 rushing yards per game as well. So that kind of sweetens the pot for us on using Ty Chandler. But yes, I do believe he will be chalky. And then as the receivers, like I mentioned, Josh Downs, who had 7 catches, 119, 3 touchdowns last year. Emory Simmons, 15, 201 and 1. And Antoine Green, 438 and 1. I think out of the group here, Emory Simmons is probably my favorite. The build I have going on right now, I really don't have that luxury. It's looking more like Antoine Green. I do know that I want at least one piece of the UNC receivers. If you're going to play Sam Howell, I think you should pair him with one of his weapons. If we're all going to play Chandler, that's fine. If you decide to go with me and play Howell, I really think you need to take one of those wide receivers, and taking Green would be just fine. Caffrey Brown is banged up. Sounds like he's available to go. Another guy that Howell does have familiarity with, but I think they're taking it nice and slow with him. So I think Green, Downs, and Simmons are really going to be the guys that get targeted the most, and just becomes, which of those 3 you're able to afford. Virginia Tech has some players too. I won't hog up the entire game. Who are you looking at from the Virginia Tech side? And is there anybody you want to reiterate, or I didn't mention from North Carolina?
I actually agree with almost everything you said, where I guess first Carolina, Sam Howell, I'm assuming he's going to be chalky. I mean, he's 8.4. I think he's by far the best quarterback in the slate. And I found a pretty cool stat on him. He over the last 2 years, he's completed 102 of 155 passes in the fourth quarter for 1,587 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 0 picks. That's a pretty damn good quarterback. I mean, that's a quarterback that's got some balls, that doesn't choke. So we played Howell a lot last year, and we're going to run right to the wall again, especially, it's going to be a close game, only 5-point favor. So I agree with everything you said there. I don't have to repeat Ty Chandler. I think he's going to be chalky, and there's good reason for it. We saw what Carter and Williams did last year, and I think Chandler's going to get most of that run. And I do agree with you. The last thing, I also like that Emory Simmons price at 4.6. It's 4.6, right?
Simmons is 6.4. He's the one I want, but 6'4", Green is actually 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Green's 4.6.
I like Simmons is, like I said, Simmons is my favorite, but the 6.4. But we may have to go down to an Antoine Green at 4.6. And reading everything from Phil Longo is he's praising. I mean, I know we see it a lot, but he's praising Simmons, saying he's playing great football right now. Praising Antoine Green, saying the same thing. He's even talking about De'Ami Brown's little brother. But I think, if anything, I think it's a smart fade with the 7.2 Josh Downs. I mean, even though Downs definitely can go off, we saw that happen last year when he went into the Orange Bowl as Daz Newsome's backup and walked out of the Orange Bowl as the heir apparent to in the slot De'Ami Brown. So you're kind of playing, I guess, with a little bit of fire by not playing with Downs, but I don't think you're gonna be able to fit him anyway. So I like your call there on the Howell and Antoine Green at 4.6, because Green's going to get some burn anyway. So all these guys are. And on the other side, I'm not real big on Virginia Tech. I mean, I played Trey Turner a lot over the years. I just don't like that 6'2" price. And I mean, he's serviceable. I mean, he's a decent target for Burmeister. Him and Tavion Robinson, they're going to average close, like they average, both of them average like close to like 16 yards per catch. Maybe James Mitchell in there too, the tight end at 4.2. I'm probably not playing anybody from that lineup. The only one that kind of intrigues me a little bit also is Raheem Blackshear. Now, we don't know. I mean, anything I've read and found out, the coaching staff is not telling us anything, whether it's going to be Holston or Blackshear or Keyshawn King. But I think Blackshear is the one that's a better receiver out of all of them. So at 3.6, I don't think that's not a bad GPP price. Maybe throw him in there, making a lineup maybe with Burmeister or something. Or then maybe also let's switch Keyshawn King. Keyshawn King's only 3K, and he didn't play last year, but he played a bunch of games as a freshman 2019. So something you actually don't want to touch. But if anything, I guess is probably going to be a Trey Turner and maybe throw Blackshear out there, maybe get lucky a little bit in GBPs. But I don't have much interest in Virginia Tech. Maybe I should, but it's going to be a close game. Points are going to be scored here, and somebody's got to score points for BT. And I just don't see Trey Turner as being a type that's going to, have a huge day. We know who Trey Turner is. I mean, he is one of the leaders now this year. I mean, he is the veteran, but I just don't see him doing it. So where are the points going to come from Virginia Tech? Maybe it's going to be like a Blackshear or somebody, or a Holston at 4.3. I mean.
And you do have an option 4.8. Caleb Smith is going to be starting. Turner and Tavion Robinson are the starting receivers with him, so maybe him. Looking at it, I think Turner's maybe the safest of the three, but you're right. Maybe too much opportunity cost there to where he doesn't pay that off. And we also, we don't know what we're going to see out of Burmeister. They don't have Hendon Hooker now. Maybe it's a downgrade overall just because, Joe Hooker was a pretty good quarterback. So, it's kind of a wait and see with Virginia Tech. And then with North Carolina, I guess the thinking with me and, with fading head downs would just be we don't know the established pecking order yet. It's not as simple as, well, Downs is next in line. He's going to be that WR1.
Right.
It could be Simmons. It could be Corrales when he gets back because we know he can perform. Brown if he's healthy, or Green. So I think really you just get that exposure and you just take a cheap guy. But like I said, I would prefer Simmons. I really do feel like Simmons is the best of the group, but the current build I'm looking at, don't think I'm going to be able to get there, but I'm perfectly fine with going with Green. So just keep that in mind with the pecking order of North Carolina being up in the air. How's going to be throwing the ball and scoring some points. So Green can very well be the top guy.
On Caleb Hood for like some GPPs, because I mean we all know Hood's kind of a big deal now too. I mean he's not going to take over, but you think he's going to get enough run to maybe make any kind of difference GPP?
I mean it's tough to say. Definitely with this type of offense, we know it can support two running backs, and everything coming out of camp is a lot of hype on him. So he's definitely in play. I mean, he's going to have probably lower ownership, so he's kind of like a bulldozer, man. He's like 225 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he's a little bit of a different back. There's a lot of carries up for grabs, so he's definitely in play. With everybody going to Chandler, maybe you zag to a couple alt lineups with Hood and hope that he ganks the red zone carries and steals the touchdowns or something. Definitely a possibility. All right, next game, Duke versus Charlotte. You wouldn't think that this would be a year ago. It would be like, probably not. But there is actually some options here, and I'm finding myself potentially having a lot of this game, and maybe I'm thinking it's a CBB game or something because Duke and Charlotte in football. What? Right now it's Duke minus 6.5. We have a 16.5 over under, pretty solid. But like I said, there's some options here. Starting with Charlotte, their QB Chris Reynolds, man. He's only 5K. maybe he's not going to draw the ownership that we just saw Barrier from EWU tonight get at that 5K, 5.2 price, but maybe we do see similar because we're looking at a QB here that should slide into your QB2 slot behind Howell if you run that build. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards in his 2.5 season career. He's thrown for 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Last year, I sent you a picture in DM earlier today, but I don't think we had a chance to talk about it. But he was really brutal on the ground in 2020. He had like 36 yards for 50 attempts. So you'd be like, oh, he's not a dual threat. But in 2019, he ran for 800 yards on 153 attempts and 6 touchdowns. So there is dual threat upside, and then we know it exists. I mean, maybe the COVID interruption, kind of threw them off. Different coaching philosophy.
He was hurt too. So
I was gonna say, I know there was at least one game he was banged up. So Reynolds at 5K to me, he's not necessarily a lock, but shit, I mean, if you're looking at his numbers overall in his career, he's definitely a good play. And the Duke defense, they gave up points in droves a lot last year. They weren't the worst defense in the conference, but they were fantasy friendly. So I'm kind of liking Reynolds. And if I'm going to go that route, I'm going to want to pair him with his WR1, Victor Tucker, who's only 5'3". Tucker, man, he had 46 targets last year, but in 3 years with the team, he actually has 218 targets. So he is peppering the shit out of Victor Tucker. He had 136 passes in his career that he's caught, 2,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. So I'm personally really high on him in all formats, GPP, cash, whatever. I think people are going to kind of gravitate towards Trey Good, who's starting, and he's only 3K for Charlotte. Definitely don't mind that. But I think you go with Tucker and Reynolds, and you're only tying up 10.3K in salary for 2 guys that could potentially put up 25 each, a combined 50 plus. That's a really big time move. So I'll be interested to see what the ownership looks like here as the morning and the day goes by. But I'm really high on both of those guys, and maybe I'm being crazy, but they just seem really strong. And then on the Duke side, it's really I'll run it back if I'm going with the passing game. If I think Duke's going to be ahead, Matteo Durant at 7.2. We talked about him on the ACC show. I was hoping he'd be a little cheaper. Still want to play him though. This slate, in my write up here, it'll be out after the show. It's kind of iffy on QB, but there's a lot of playable running back options. I find myself definitely playing 3, and I wouldn't mind playing 4. Durant, we know, operated as a backup to Djax last year, but he actually rushed for more yards, more touchdowns, and he had a way better YPC. Now Jackson's gone. He's probably going to get twice as many carries. He's the, RB1 undisputed. And he could be one of those guys that ends up being sneaky throughout the season that we're always looking for. But he could draw ownership on this slate because of how it looks. YPC at 6.8 last year. If he can hover anywhere close to that this year with the extended carries, he's going to be a big time option. Rushed for 817 yards, 8 touchdowns. He caught 12 passes for 107. So he's definitely involved in the passing game. With the type of work he could get, we could be looking at a guy who's 9K by the end of the season. So he's not going to catch any defenses by surprise this year. But I'm definitely thinking that he could be, putting up a big time total here. Charlotte gave up over 200 rushing yards per game last year. So Durant's looking like a good run back option and a mini game stack here for Duke Charlotte. So is this wise of me to be targeting a football game with Duke and Charlotte, or how do you feel about this?
And I thought I was crazy too, because it looks like we're agreeing a lot tonight so far. Chris Reynolds, and right now I have Reynolds ranked as my number 2 quarterback. I actually have number 2. I like Brandon Lewis a bit for Colorado, but I like this Reynolds kid, and a lot of those problems last year. For Reynolds, he actually tore his labrum on his first play of the season, but the kid played the rest of the season. He played hurt all season. So right there shows why his numbers went down. But was it 2019? He had a huge year in 2019. I mean, he was a stud. Actually, he is the third. No, let me see. It was 2019. I'm sorry. So he tore his labrum last year. And going to Victor Tucker, I think that's a great, maybe even in cash. I maybe changed some of my mind a little bit. I didn't have Victor Tucker as a cash play, but I think probably Victor Tucker is a little bit inconsistent. But at the end of the year, You look at his numbers and they're all put together. He's actually the third highest graded receiver in Conference USA since he became a starter in 2018. And he's got the third most receptions of 15 plus yards among that group. So, like I said, they say he's inconsistent. I'm not sitting there saying I watch all the Charlotte games, or a lot of this is from research I've done. But I think you get a team, you get Reynolds and Tucker, both very talented, and they could definitely upset like a team like Marshall for that top spot. I think it all hinges on Chris Reynolds though. And from what I've seen, the kid's good. I think he just knocked out last year, and look at his numbers 2019, and you got a good quarterback here. And Victor Tucker's his man. I mean, that's where everything is going to from Reynolds. I think they're two top players. So that's all. Of course, that's all I'm really looking at for Charlotte. They're running back this kid Shadrick Bird. I mean, he's pretty cheap, but on the other end, I'm not interested in Holmberg, but I am definitely interested in Matteo Durant at 7'2". Man, I wish he was like 6'2". I say that a lot, but he really, I mean, there were some games last year he really took over, and especially when they needed to, when that passing attack was so bad at some points. So I mean, he had 400-yard games in his last 7, which is pretty damn good. And like you said, he actually was the leading runner last year, right? And I always thought for some reason Deion Jackson was the leading runner, and actually it was Durant. So, and now there's no Deion Jackson, so it's Durant's game. So Durant is possibly could be a top, like a main lineup runner. I just don't like that price. So to me, it's more of a GPP play. Especially when you got guys like Ty Chandler sitting there at 5K or 5'2", whatever he is, you know what I mean? And CBL at 6'4". So probably GPP play to me, but I think it's gonna be popular, and I think it's a good play. But that's it. So Reynolds and Durant. Oh, this other for Charlotte, just kid Trey Good. He's only 3K. Yeah. He's listed on the depth chart as a starter. Did you mention that when you're talking? I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but
yeah, I did. It's all good though.
Okay. All right. So I guess he's more of a, I mean, GPP play. I'm not sure if I wouldn't put him out there in my main lineup, but I think it's definitely worth a punt at 3K for a kid that's listed, listed as a starting receiver at 3K, and we got a guy with Reynolds' ability throwing to him. So that might be Victor Tucker's not going to catch every pass thrown to him, right? So
yeah, no, it's a good value, definitely. Which maybe that helps you get, one of those receivers up top for North Carolina as well. And I got a debate because you bring up a good point about, obviously Chandler's a lock. I am looking at Beal Smith, who we're going to talk about in a second, and I want to lock Durant. The lineup I'm looking at has Durant, but that prevents me from getting Simmons. If I drop down to someone like, CBS, maybe I can get Simmons. So I'll have to think about that. But right now, Durant, man, he had 5 of 11 he had a long run of 46 plus yards and 5 of 11. And 5 of his last 7, he scored over 22 fantasy points. So he was going nuts the last part of the season, and really no one talked about him, used him, and he just kept piling it on. So, all right, next game, we'll have you start this one off. Old Dominion versus Wake Forest. -31 for the Wake. There's 63 over under. Hartman's 8-9. That's a really tough price for me to pay with Hartman, but you're a Hartman guy. And Wake Forest, to me, obviously Ja'Cory Roberson is a big time play, but they made him super high priced as well. So how do you think guys should attack this game? Because obviously we're probably not looking at old DU too much, but Wake Forest has some guys we probably want to target because they're gonna romp.
Yeah, and I am a Sam Hartman guy, but the price is probably too high, especially when you got Hal there. There's no way you're gonna play both of them, I don't think. But I think he's a top GPP play. I think he's turned into a star. That's what I always say. He needs to be a little bit more accurate. He can't be out there throwing blindly, but he doesn't add much to the rushing. But when you're throwing to guys like Ja'Cory, you're gonna pile up some yardage, and he's in play. I mean, they're playing him against a team from Old Dominion that has not really have played a game in 2 years. So they haven't fielded a team in over a year. They haven't won a game in 2 years. So I guess the one problem they have is how deep are they going to go? How deep they're going to play. But Hartman's a GPP play. I like CBS a lot. I liked them last year. Now you don't have to worry about Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker's gone. He went to Michigan State, right? So Walker had 13 TDs, which more TDs go CBS way. And I think he can be a workhorse for this program. He had 300-yard games last season. Other team 732 yards on the ground, 5 scores. And I said, going up against Old Dominion is not going to hold these guys back. So the problem is, how much Wake Forest do you really? I'm trying to get Jakari in my lineup, but I can't have Jakari. I don't think NCBS, man, it could be. The Jakari's a stud. He developed into star last year. He almost had 1,000 yards. He is. You can say that Roberson and Hartman could be the most potent quarterback wide receiver combination ACC. You can arguably say that. He had 4 straight 100-yard games, and 5 of his last 6 games he had 100 yards. He's got that crazy after the catch ability. He actually posted the 2nd best receiving grade in the country last year, beside Devonta Smith. So once again, worry about the blowout factor, but I think Roberson will get enough in the first half anyways to pay off his value. I think he's that good, and Hartman's going to be looking for him, especially with all the injuries, with Donovan Green out too. So ODU, I'm not even going to sit here and tell you I know half of the players, because I don't, and I'm not going to be playing any of them. I know the quarterback's DJ Mack, but I think Roberson is like your cash play, and Hartman CBS is cash / GBP, and Hartman is GBP. And that's probably it, unless you start getting to stacks. So I guess you could mess with stacks a little bit. Like, I don't mind Taylor Moran. I think Moran's actually a steady. We talked about him actually in the previews, in the ACC previews. We talked about Moran a lot, but for DFS today, I think it's just Roberson and cash, and maybe CBS and ODU. I ain't doing nothing with ODU.
Yeah, that's a bad football team. They haven't played in a year and a half, and they're going to get smoked. So it's unfortunate, because, we would want to play some Hartman. Even I would want to, and definitely Roberson without Green. He's going to be well over 100 plus targets this year, but they're taxing on them, and it's going to be really difficult to play them and justify it. While there is good value on the slate, I just don't want to miss out on some of these upper tier, guys that are in the mid range that I feel like I got to play. All right. So next game, South Dakota versus Kansas, another one that could potentially turn into a big blowout. Here we have a string of them. Kansas minus 13.5. It's a 56 over under. It's ugly, lower scoring. Kansas is not typically a team we like to mess with too much. They've hurt us in the past when we do. Kwame Lassiter is back. He led the team in targets last year with 60. Andrew Parchment is off and gone. We know he transferred. He had 51 targets. So Lassiter does have the look of a guy who could be a big time, producer at the position. But he's 8-1, not paying that. And the QP position is still not, the QB position is still not, truly defined. We don't know. We could be looking at rotation. The Kansas team, I'm really not comfortable with. They should win this game, but even Velton Gardner at 5'8", I'm uncomfortable with that price for him right now until we see more. Maybe Keyshawn, he's there at the mini price, but I don't really have a whole lot to say about this game, because it just doesn't look like there's much upside to targeting at all. So, is there any sneaky plays here that you saw, or maybe you're seeing it differently? Because I'm looking to the other games.
I'm kind of interested to see. It's going to take a couple of years, but I do think Lance Leopold's a good coach. I think he's a good running back coach. So I do see Velton Gardner at anybody in this game. Gardner getting the run, and you can't compare him to Jarrett Patterson or something like that. But I think Gardner's a good running back, and he probably was one of the only positives last year. It's just a terrible team, a terrible program. And if we think about it, they're only favored by 14 points. So they should be, against this team, they should be favored by a hell of a lot more than this. So anybody in this whole game, right? I have a little bit of interest, and I was trying to find out more about him. Is on the other side is Cody Case. He's 4'3", and I had it called up, and now I just lost it. But he's got almost 1,000 yards receiving in his career. He's a kid that's had a lot of injuries, but they say when he's healthy, he's a stud. I've heard a lot of good things about him, just by the research I'm doing. So maybe a guy like a Cody Case, because I like that price. And if he's as long as he's healthy and playing, I think he's in a good spot. Kwame Lassiter too, I guess, but you can't touch anybody from this game. If anybody, maybe Gardner like in GVP, but you know he's going to get burned.
Yeah,
we're probably going to lean on him.
Lassiter we'd be having such a different conversation if he was like what he should be, 4.5 or 5.5, but then that's an 8.1 for him. That's just he maybe he turns into an 8K guy because he is probably going to be the alpha, but yeah, I don't know. All right, next game, it's another blowout. Northern Colorado versus Colorado, -38. Colorado, 56.5. I'm going to say my piece on Jarek Broussard during the Pac-12 show. You harped about how good he is. We know that he's priced appropriately, fairly. He probably should be even higher. He's the real deal. If you could fit him into your build, you're going to have a nice, safe floor. The only issue is if it turns into a blowout by halftime, there is a very real possibility that he doesn't play that much in the second half. It seemed very, unstoppable at different times throughout 2020. I know it was a shortened season. Rushed for almost 900 yards and 5 touchdowns. Very nice, healthy YPC of 5.7. I'm a big YPC guy. Contributed 9 catches in the passing game. So there's kind of an untested QB, in terms of actual game time there. And you mentioned you might be interested in Russo, that you talked about him. But I think Broussard could get fed really heavy, for the first few games this season. And he's definitely going to just run all over this Northern Colorado team. It's just a question of how many quarters will he actually get. I tend not to worry about blowouts with certain teams, but I am definitely concerned about it here when I see almost a 40-point spread. So are you looking to possibly target Brandon Lewis then? It's a good price at 6.6, but what are you thinking there?
I like the price. I was saying earlier, obviously he's not a household name here, but he got a little bit of run in the Alamo Bowl, 95 yards passing, 73 yards rushing, touchdown on the ground. And he wasn't expected to be starting. Sam Neuer transferred late. And then next thing you know, he's in a quarterback battle with TJ Shout, and then Shout went down. And next thing you know, it's Brandon Lewis's team. So you wouldn't even be talking about this kid. It's an experienced quarterback, but you think about it, when you're a 38-point favorite and a 56.5 game total, he's probably going to be playing the whole game, even in blowout factor, because they're going to want to get the kid reps, right? So that's where I'm kind of leaning. Even with Broussard getting burned, I think that Lewis is going to get enough of his too. Even if Broussard scores, say, 4 touchdowns, I still think Lewis is going to pass for a couple. I still like the Charlotte quarterback obviously better, but I do have interest in Lewis. I have a weird interest in him, and I'm going to get him in one lineup or another, just in case. But where's he going to throw it? Dimitri. I guess you got. Dimitri Stanley. You got what's a kid from Laviska Chenault's brother is a receiver there for Colorado. Levante. He's 4 or 5, so I could see a little GPP run with like Lewis and Chenault. Or probably better off like Lewis and Stanley, but I like Brandon Lewis. Who was there? Somebody we were talking about the other day? Oh, we're talking about the UConn guys. So I was eating my words after that game. I was pretty confident in them, but I just think Brandon Lewis is huge favorites. He's gonna get run. They're gonna want to see him out there running, throwing, and see what happens.
Yeah. Definitely an interesting game. I'm looking forward to seeing this Colorado offense because I think there's going to be something to like here. The receivers are kind of hit or miss, but I think Chenault will maybe end up taking that alpha role, kind of like Russell there. Stanley's just kind of a hit or miss player. He can really do damage, and then other weeks he was disappearing last year. Right. So definitely some GPP stuff to like here though. Next game, and another one that doesn't have a lot of appeal for most people, I think, Michigan State versus Northwestern. It's a -3 spread, 46 over under. So we're looking at almost 20 points less than, Wake Forest game, North Carolina game. What do you think? What do you knowing that a lot of people, especially casual players, I look at totals, of course, but it's not like my end all be all like it is some people. Knowing that a lot of casual players or people who rely heavily on totals are going to look at it and just check it right off. Do you find yourself strategically, really trying to dig and say, okay, let me try to find somebody here because I know they're going to be low owned, or if it's, two kind of dog teams like this that might be slow and ugly, do you just say, nah, I'm gonna beat them somewhere else?
I think I actually have interest in a couple of these receivers for Michigan State. Josh Naylor. I like the Josh Naylor price. He's 5K. So now the latest is Anthony Russo is starting, right? Do we know that for sure?
I mean, yeah, they're playing games, of course, but I mean, I'm it sounds like it. It sounds like it could change, but it sounds like it's Russo. Yeah.
I mean, I think actually a guy like Russo can maybe help. This passing game. And Naylor last year he ended the season. He had 100 yards against Penn State. And then he had a really good game against Iowa. Actually, two pretty strong teams. I think he's got huge potential. I think he's the big play threat, and I think you can. We seen when in his the third game of his year he had third game of his career. I remember he had a big catch, touchdown catch, and then in Indiana it was in 2018, I think a 75-yard catch. So he's ready for this year. I mean, this is a season. I think he's always shown promise, but I think he's more of a big play guy. But my question is, I don't know whether they play Naylor or Jaden Reed. They think Jaden Reed he's had some decent years too. He came from Western Michigan, and then he had really decent receiving grades. I'm looking at. I mean, he's kind of a shifty slot receiver. He breaks tackles, and then next thing you know, he's transferred to Michigan State, and he sat out a year for the rules, and then finally got into a starting job last year. So he was decent last year. Actually, I think his first game was his best game, but he had a couple fumbles, and I think that's what hurt him. And then, boom, his reputation takes a hit. But I think definitely there's some positives there, and I think his skills are probably the best receiver on the team, and I think he's more of a slot receiver. So he was running. Yeah, he had a receiving grade 73.6, 2.48 yards per route on the outside past season. So I think Reed's going to have a bounce back year. So I want one of these guys in my lineup. So, if I'm making two lineups, I think Reed's a safer guy, but I think Naylor is actually going to be a big play guy that's going to have a big season. Once again, can Russo get on the ball? That's your problem, I guess. Because I'm definitely not a Russo guy.
Russo he had some nice games though. The last couple of years.
So maybe Russo, is going to jumpstart this program a little bit. I mean, maybe he is going to help them. But is anybody from Northwestern we're looking at? No.
What about before that? Probably not. What about Kenneth Walker though? Is Kenneth Walker is going to be a bell cow for them, or what kind of role are you hearing for him? Is he only 4'7"? So he might be in play.
That's a good question. That's something we need to dig into more, actually. And I'm gonna honestly, I didn't look into Kenneth Walker that much, but
I didn't really either.
We seen what he did at Wake, right? So that's a good sneaky play right there.
I mean, he had 4 different occasions he scored 20+ DK points year prior. So 4'7", he's gonna get the first crack. I think he's in play. Probably not necessarily you're like a main lineup guy, but if you're running multiples on this one, and I think this is a pretty decent slate to do so, you're gonna, you'd want like 20-25% Kenneth Walker, I think, out of like 20 lineups.
That's a good point. You think about it. He had almost 600 yards and a timeshare, and Elijah Collins and Jordan Simmons are not unseating him. So you're right. He's gonna get a lot of touches. So he's gonna get the most of the reps. That's a really good call at 4'7". You brought that, honestly, that kind of went over my head. I was too busy digging into Jaden Reed and Jalen Naylor today, trying to figure out which one I wanted to use. I think one of those guys in play, but Walker may actually be the call here. That's a nice call.
And then Yeah, no, and that's good and good info you put on the receivers because some people might be looking away, and there you go, finding somebody. For Northwestern, though, we were already, or I was, and I think you probably would be too, for Cam Porter season, but alas, we're not going to get that because he's injured for the year. So somebody else has to step up for this Northwestern group. And receiver wise, they've got they got Stephen Robinson there. There's just not a lot to like here initially.
Berkeley Holman. I mean,
yeah, and they've got a quarterback. The South Carolina kids over there, Ryan Helinski. It's just I don't know, man. There's not a lot to like here. Maybe it changes as time goes on, but I just looking at this Northwestern team top to bottom and this particular slate, I just don't feel as though I want to get cute to the point where I'm targeting them when there's some other options that are better suited for our type of build, and they won't be that chalky still. So it's kind of how I'm approaching the Northwestern side.
When Walker entered Michigan State, he was 203. Now he's almost at 212. So they're talking. I'm just reading quick about his conditioning, his weight work and stuff. And I'm seeing a lot of good praise and quotes from him, because if you think about it, that running game has really struggled in the last couple of years. And it probably hit rock bottom last year. So they were 122nd out of 127 in the nation in rushing at 91.4 yards a game. That's the lowest in program history since 1947. So Kenneth Walker is going to be a nice little burst of energy because just these guys can't do it. So I like that call.
All right, and then the last game on the slate, and I do like this one. We got the two South Dakota schools, South Dakota State versus Colorado State, -3 for Colorado State, 52.5 over under. I actually feel like there's a real potential for this one to go over. However, both teams have running backs that are a running game in general, actually, that could chew up the clock. So I'm not much to hit totals very often. I do feel like this one could go over, and I do feel like South Dakota State could win this game. They pushed JMU, James Madison, not like a year or two ago. This is a team that is a dominant lower division school that can definitely push a team like Colorado State. Colorado State's been a team that has struggled, over the last couple of years to running backs fantasy wise. And there's a running back for South Dakota State that I'm extremely high on at 5K for them, Pierre Strong. And this is a name that's not a household name by any means, but I have seen one of their games in the spring, actually, when they were playing. But he's rushed for over 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. And then in the spring season they played, he actually was playing like an RB2 or a split with Isaiah Davis, the freshman, I think, because they were trying to make sure he didn't get hurt or whatever. Still rushed for over 700 yards in that spring. That's just a few months ago. He's been named to the Walter Payton watch list. So, 5K is just really too cheap for a guy like this that's going to get a lot of touches. Spread's only 3 points, so it's not like they're going to get, hopefully not blown out to the point where they have to abandon the run or anything. He's going to be very heavily involved in this offense. The freshman Isaiah Davis, who's more expensive than him, he's going to be involved as well. He rushed for over 800 yards in spring. But I get the impression, like I said, Strong was kind of maybe resting a little bit more or not getting his normal touches. I'm very high on Pierre Strong. I'm kind of slotting him with Ty Chandler there. That's 10.2K in salary for two major running backs that are going to put up a lot of fantasy points for us. So I'm on the Strong train there. I like I said, I'm just a fan. I think at QB they've got I transferred from Samford, I believe, and he got to start. And it's his birthday tomorrow. You know me with my narratives. Chris Oladokun, I think is how you say that. It's only 5'1". Good GPP play at QB. They're going to get a shot against CSU. They're very high on him. Came in there just 2 months ago after transferring, took the job, by the balls basically, and said it's mine. So, and everybody likes him a lot. As far as their receivers go, I'm not super confident in picking one of their receivers. They do have Landon Wolf transferred. You guys may remember that name from the Big 12, Oklahoma State, last year, a year or two ago. So they do have him there. He's only priced at 3K. He is on the depth chart. So maybe you get yourself some Landon Wolf and some Oladokun, pairings in your GPPs there. Because I feel like the South Dakota State team has a chance to push Colorado State. On the CSU side, I'm a big Dante Wright fan. I know you're a big Dante Wright fan from last year. He's only 6K. big time target hounds. Nate Craig Myers has transferred. He's actually on the slate tonight to UCF. So that's a weapon out of the way. And it's really Dante Wright and Trey McBride, the super tight end, that are going to get peppered with a lot of targets here once again. Wright's been targeted 109 times in 2 years, 77 catches, 1,100 yards. So he's going to be put in a position to put up some video game numbers. And Wright, he had been priced upwards of almost like 7.5, 8K last year. So 6K for me is a cheap price, and I feel like he's close to a core play on this particular slate for me. McBride's 300 more for 6'3", but I think he's probably more of a GP, is safe. But Dante Wright, they're going to give him the ball. He gets carries, he gets different positions. They've done Wildcat with him before, and then you've got at the running back spot. I saw you guys talking about in the chat, so I'll kind of lead you into that. They had McElroy last year. 2 years ago, he looked good. He kind of struggled last year. We knew Vivens was getting a bunch of catches. He was involved last year. And now they have David Bailey, right? So, and he's only 4'5". So what do you think about this rushing attack for Colorado State and this game in general?
And I was actually a Bailey guy at BC, and I think he's actually a good runner. And my thing is, I don't think Adesanya is going to bring him in just to sit on the bench, and I think he is talented enough. Where what's Bailey's price? 4.5. I mean, I could definitely see a decent game from Bailey. I think he's better than Marcus McElroy. I think they're gonna, before the season's over, you're gonna see Bailey's gonna be getting most of the reps. So. But when you got a team with Dante Wright and Trey McBride, I mean, those guys just kind of afterthoughts, because, like I said, Dante Wright's my guy. I think Dante Wright's the shit. I think he's really good. He really still hasn't had a full season, it seems like, right? I mean, he had I think he played 3 games last season. I just had it pulled up. But to me, if I can fit Jakari Roberson and Dante Wright in my main lineup, I'm all set. Now he caught at least 5 passes for 60 yards in each of the 3 games he played last year. So he had 20 receptions, 315 yards, and he had a 35% target share. So this kid's electric. He's a downfield threat. I mean, he's got the ability to make big plays. The one stat I like, he's got an 8.6 average after catch average. Broken 18 tackles in his career. So electric player. I think he's the cash play. He's got a high ceiling. And I think Trey McBride is more of a GPP play. But you said, I think Bride's a super tight end. I think he's probably one of the best tight ends in college football. He's up there. I mean, he can block, but he can receive. He's a big kid. Even though I said he only played 4 games last year, but still he was one of the focal points of the offense. So in a lot of targets, if anything, I like that you can possibly play them both together. Problem is they got a shit quarterback. But
yeah.
I mean, Todd Santillo sucks, but I think McBride is more of a GPP probably because Dante Wright is like a touchdown guy. I don't think he scored a touchdown last year. More of a possession guy. But they're going against a defense that they're gonna overmatch. McBride GPP, Wright, cash, and that's pretty much it. I mean, and I am some interested in David Bailey though. But if I'm making more than one lineup, I do think he's gonna end up being very low owned, very kind of a sleeper play. But we've seen what Bailey's done. I mean, I'm not saying that Boston College did not have a good rushing game last year, but we had some decent games, seems like. So it's all Dante Wright for me. I'm a Wright guy. My main lineup.
Yeah,
6-0 should be core play
for sure. There, absolutely. And like I said, I'm fairly, I guess, confident that it's going to be a closer game. I think SDSU could even win with their QB play, their running back play. They've got some strong options, so I'm going to be definitely heavily invested in this game. I'll have to look into the running back situation more as we're talking. And if I come off Durant, I think I can finagle my lineup in such a way I may even be able to play Broussard if I want. So I'm kind of playing around here, starting to like how this slate looks. Speaking of core, before we talk about prize picks and things, Wright is definitely in my initial core that I have in my write-up here, and hopefully it doesn't have to change because of PPDs for lightning or anything. But I have Sam Howell, Ty Chandler, and Dante Wright. So pretty straightforward. The Temple one got moved to Saturday,
Oh, okay.
not the UCF.
Oh, okay.
Just we had some delays for lightning, and then we had
Yeah.
a flash flood, and we've got all this. So, and I had to change up my core because I had Jada Blue in my core. So, but yeah, right now those are the three I have: Sam Howell, Ty Chandler, Dante Wright. Not very imaginative, as I expect all three to be fairly high owned. But as I said, sometimes it's really just that easy. You want to, get some exposure to some guys who maybe not high as owned, like how I'm high on Pierre Strong. Maybe people won't be on him. Maybe Tucker. Reynolds, depending on what people are going to do. So definitely some ways to be different on this slate. And maybe even Durant becomes not that popular because of all these other running back options. Who do you have as a core right now, core three?
So, I have the same core as you with Chandler, Howell, and Wright. Okay. But I'd like to put Jakari Robertson in there also. And the kid from Charlotte, quarterback. So I'm not saying it's core, but they're the main guys I'm really interested in really looking at. If I can get Robertson and Wright and Chandler and Howell in my lineup, I'll be very happy. With some decent pieces left over. Yeah. I mean, we're not playing 3K guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't tried to put him in yet, but it sounds like we're on the same path. If you go with Tucker, you have like 7.5 to 8K for that last spot. So if you go up to Robertson, your flex, there's left over still over 5K. So you can definitely make some good lineups here. I just hope that we're not all tying for the last cash spot or something with everybody running the same thing. That's what happened on that showdown last night. But good slate. Prize picks, let's go over that. The three that I have written up, actually I have four. I have Ty Chandler over 64.5 rushing yards. I feel like overnight that one's going to shoot up. We did see Rashad White's shoot up overnight. Ty Chandler over 0.5 touchdowns as well. I think he's going to score. So I think kind of a core package there. And then Emery Simmons over 51.5 receiving yards. Those are the three main ones I have. I have a few others. Give you a chance to pull that up there. See which ones you were liking. You got Naylor's on there.
Yeah, the Naylor 62.5 probably. Jakari's high though, 112.
Yeah, I wouldn't be touching that.
They're kind of tight. McBride's 74.5. That's tight. What we got for receptions?
And now maybe the fourth one I have while you're doing that, I was just gonna say Matteo Durant over 15 fantasy points. That was the other one that seemed low to me.
That's not a bad call. Hey, you said Emery 4 receptions, right?
I didn't. I had the receiving yards, but what is the receptions? Because that could work too.
4.
Yeah, that could work. Definitely.
Yep. What about Ty Chandler? 2 receptions.
I like that. Yeah, I think you can hit the over. I don't know if they let you put the same player in the same one. You might have to get 3 different ones, but his over 64.5 rushing yards, over 0.5 touchdowns, and over 2 receptions all should hit, I would think.
Brendan Lewis, 172.5 yards. I think he's going to go over. Todd Sentio under. He's always under. That sucks. No, maybe not. How can you be under 172 when you got Wright? When you got 2 studs like that, and you're serious? Imagine having Trey McBride and Wright on your team, and then you have a shit quarterback.
They need to figure out what they want their identity to be. It seemed like they wanted to be a run-heavy team there for a while, and then they wanted to be a pass, and there's no consistency with the QB play. They got the weapons. They've got talent. They brought in some transfers. They got to figure out what they want to be. They're trying to be too much.
Yep, and I like that team. So, I think it could be a really good team if they had the right quarterback. There's 3 studs there.
Yeah, how did they? The transfer market was so much bigger, especially in college basketball. We know,
yeah,
but in college football. And how did they not go get a QB? How did they not say, "Hey, Hendon, why do you want to switch with Joe Milton every other week? Why don't you come play for us?" Imagine Hooker at Colorado State. That would have been stupid. But yeah, that's where we stand. Got you guys core prize picks. Feel pretty good about this slate. I think it should be pretty straightforward. It's one of those ones where I think we'll kind of just glide into the cash fairly easy with these plays, as long as we don't have cancellations, PPDs, or injuries. And it's just a matter of fitting those last 2 or 3 pieces that are enough leverage to kind of push you over the top and start getting in those top 3, 5, even Dinkin tournament type talk. So I think that's it for this show covered. I have my article releasing. You've been doing some showdown stuff. We will be back tomorrow night, same place on our YouTube channel, 10 p.m. EST. breaking down all 13 games for the Saturday slate. We'll go relatively quickly, so we won't drone on about every single game because some of the games are kind of light on fantasy options. We'll break that down, and then Saturday morning I'll be back to talk you guys through any late minute news. So, Pete, we're gonna get out of here. Any final words before we do so?
No, but I see a note that Mo turned his Achilles.
I haven't seen. I haven't really. I've been kind of not watching the scores, to be honest with you.
They put it in the chat. Myron Kidd just put it in the chat. So.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
No. Yeah, I'll look
good
luck.
Good luck rest of the night tonight. Good luck tomorrow. 6:30. I think it's an earlier start time. Or no, it's 7 tomorrow. 6. No, it's 6 tomorrow. 6.
6.
So a little bit earlier
start
time.
6.
It feels like it's with these. Is this? Well, I guess it is a holiday weekend, right? It is a holiday week. I'm feeling like it's like Thanksgiving weekend when I'm seeing these Friday 6 o'clock starts and Saturday and Thursday games, but it's Labor Day, so it is a holiday. So
yep. There's football all throughout the weekend, and there's CFL Sunday, Monday. So we literally will be able to watch football every day this week. So appreciate it. Thanks, Pete. We'll be back tomorrow to win you guys more money. Make sure you get over to YFC, yourfielderschoice.com. Sign up for that half-off promo, $25 a month for your first 2 months. We'll also post, I'll tweet out here in a minute, the Discord link. If you're not in our Discord, we have some free channels, and then also you'll get access to our premium channel when you sign up, where we post news, starters, we talk strategy, tilt together, just a fun time. So thanks, guys. Best of luck the rest of the night.
All
We'll
right,
see you later.
Thanks.